Hi there and welcome back. My name is Shri and we are building Pong. So last time around we managed to show the score, and what I want to do today is catch up on some of the feedback that we received from that last change. So we already implemented the changing from the general purpose allocator, which is deprecated, to the debug allocator. And what else did we do? We also removed a little bit of extra code that is not necessary. So the next few parts that we want to do is there is this bit about where the show score logic should go. I've been pondering maybe putting it into a HUD class. We'll think about that. The other thing is making the font larger. The font is a little too small. I would like it to be a little bit larger. And milogreg here has provided us with some sample code that we can use to make the font larger. So we can try that out. And there is also this little bug that we noticed that milogreg also noticed, which is that the ball can get stuck inside the paddle, because if it is crossing, then what we do is we flip the X direction. If the ball is inside the paddle, which can happen because of the frame time being, large enough that the ball moves too far, then what will happen is that it'll just flip back and forth. There are a couple of ways I think we can solve it. There is the way that milogreg has suggested, which is to just move the ball out. But I think we can also set the X value based on which paddle it is, as opposed to just multiplying it by -1. That way it will move in the same direction and just move right back out of the paddle. So what I think, let's start with the easy one, which is changing the font size. So let me just select that. So this is the bit that we want to change. Let's see, font size. Let me just copy that, and then, because I don't actually remember the exact bit that it'll need to go into, where I think it's in game. Let's show score. Okay, yeah, this is the bit. Let me just have a look at this. So font size, label options, label options dot font. Right. Yeah, this isn't that intuitive. I think that might be all we need, because we've got the DVUI.label there. Will that auto align? Yeah, that just auto formatted that, and that's setting it to 64. Let's see how that looks, because 64 might be big enough. I think it might also be worth having a quick look at how it looked in the original one. That didn't look any different. White, font style is title, label options. All right, because I'm not actually applying it here. So label options, my bad. It's probably going to be too big now, but let's see. Yeah, I want to see how big it is in the, oof, that's humongous. That's why we can't see it. I probably also will need to change the width and height. Let's make that 150. I mean, we might not need to if it's just 64, but let's just have a look. I want to see how big it is in the Pong, in the original Pong. Well, in hopefully the original, but also in other. Oh, that looks much better. Let's have a look. Pong. Actually, if we just look at images, oof, that's wow. It looks quite a bit different. Well, the score is quite large, bit higher up, and the paddles are smaller as well. And it's interesting that the ball is square, whereas we've got a circle. We can fiddle with that later if we want to. Let me just see. I saw something interesting here. One player, keyboard, easy. Oh yeah, okay. It's interesting. I didn't imagine that the center line would go all the way from top to bottom in this dotted pattern. And the score is closer to the center than center of each play area, but you know what, that's fine. I'll take a little bit of artistic license there. Yeah, this one's okay. I mean, in the versions that we were just looking at, the paddle and the ball is smaller. We can worry about that later, but this is better. In terms of the font size itself, I think it's good enough. I guess the challenge is, how does that look if let's do 1920 1080, and let's also just make it go full screen. I think it is rl.toggle full screen. Let's just check how that looks, because I'm curious as to whether we need to make that font a little bit dependent on, oops, yeah, there we go, a little bit dependent upon the size of the window. I mean, yeah, theoretically, probably, because this is fine at, you know, HD resolution, which is 1920 times 1080. But if that became 4K, that font might be too small. But then the paddle and the ball would be too, because that's more about scaling. That's fine. We won't worry about that quite yet. Let's see. Oh yeah, that was a screen size stuff, which I don't really want to save. Okay, so that is making the font size feet. Make font size for score bigger. Okay, I'd already created a branch, as you can see. Git status on branch part 6, but it also shows you here. Okay, so that was easy. So the next part that we can take a look at is that the ball may still be colliding. Let me see if I can replicate that bug. I think the way I replicated it is by just getting the paddle, getting it underneath, or getting the ball. Oops. I have to figure out which keys move it. Oops. I have to get it just right. My timing is really not that great. There we go. So I wonder, I mean, the reason it doesn't trigger the score is because we check if it's the middle of the ball goes past the left. There is a question there as to whether we need to consider changing that so that if the edge of the ball goes past the wall, then it could be a score. But the issue here is that the ball thinks that it's hit the paddle and it's just bouncing back and forth. That's why you can see it bouncing back and forth there. And there is just a bit of a question. There are many questions. I think that, yeah, because the ball is now, is it a little bit wider than the paddle? I think there are a couple of things to really consider there. Let me just check. How big is the paddle? I don't think that we set the size. Screen width, screen height, we are in paddle, right? No, we are in game. So paddle size is 25, which should be the width. Yeah, because its X size is 25. Let me just check the ball. The radius is, where is the radius? 16, which means that the diameter is 32. The ball is wider than the paddle, and that has implications because at 25, because we are not testing whether the edge of the ball goes past the edge of the screen. That's part of the reason why we get that bug in at that particular location that we're able to reproduce. So I think there are a couple of things that we can do. Let's fix the jiggling first. Let me just see, where is that? Check paddle collision. And this is the bit where we're just scaling it with -1. So, and here is the edge collision. So this is both in the ball. Okay. So we could fix the edge collision first, but then it's more difficult to test this part. So so what did milogreg suggest? The suggestion was to move the ball out. Where is crossing X? Const crossing X equals switch. May still be colliding after bouncing, after getting additional bounce, constantly switching direction while embedded in the paddle. Check if the ball is moving towards the paddle. Oh, I see. So what they're suggesting is not about moving the ball, but checking the direction of the ball. Right. Right. Okay, that's a good idea, actually. That means that, where was that one? Paddle dot is colliding. That's the bit that we are interested in. So, right. So we change this one. Okay. Okay. And wait. Crossing X. All right. Okay. Because we're just assigning it. Okay. Let me just copy and paste this. And then we can go over what that code does. So in the current version, we just check if the ball's position plus its radius, so the ball's edge, is greater than or equal to the X of the paddle. And for the left, it checks if it's less than or equal to the X of the paddle plus the size. The reason for that, I think I have a little bit of a diagram here somewhere. Yeah. So because the X of the paddle is the top left, on the right hand paddle we just check if it is greater than or equal to the X. On the left one we need to check this side, so that's the X plus the width. So we check if it's greater than or less than here. So what we want to do is we also want to check that the ball is moving in the X direction to the right, which is a positive X if we are checking the left edge, and on the right edge of the left paddle the ball will be moving in the negative direction. So we want to check that as well. That's what this change does. So we check that the X is greater than 0 for the right paddle and that the ball has crossed the the left edge, and vice versa on here. Let's check that. Let's test that. That's actually a neat way to solve that. Which was that what I was thinking? Yeah, that was roughly what the way in which I was thinking about doing it as well. Well, no, because the way I was thinking about doing it was here, instead of just multiplying it by -1, we would take the absolute value and then multiply it by 1 or -1 depending upon which paddle it was. I like this one. I like the solution that we've got in place now that milogreg suggested. Let me just try running that and see if I can fiddle it enough to be able to replicate that to a degree. You would see this more if there was some delay in the frame time, as in if there was a bit of lag. Yep, there you go. See, I don't know if you saw that one bounced correctly there. Well, I say correctly, but better than what it was doing before. We've basically eliminated. It's a bit tricky to. There we go. That one bounced. That one definitely bounced off the edge there. So that's good. Let me just commit that. It's a fix. Detect or prevent ball getting stuck in the paddle. Now, the next one we can fix is, let's just fix the edge collisions, because I've talked about this in another episode, I think, where I figured it was okay that we don't. Oh no, wait. Oh no, this is the bottom and the top edge. This is not about the goal. Let me see if it's. Where is the goal checked? Is it in game? Yeah, ball.pause.x less than 0. It should really be self.ball.r, because then it's the left edge of the ball that has gone past there. And then I also want to check pause.x plus self.ball.r, and that'll make sure that it is the right edge of the ball that has gone past the edge of the screen there. And we can just quickly run a test, and we just need to see which part. There we go. That's right at the edge. Yep, that's the edge on both sides. Okay. Oops. Okay. Fix will score on edge of ball going past screen. Okay, good. Let's see now what else we want to take a look at. So we fixed this one, or we've implemented this one. and we've implemented this one, and we've already implemented those two. So the final one is the show score, and I'm wondering whether we should move it into a HUD class. Before I do that, I just want to call out this one thing here. milogreg also built it on Windows. If you haven't tested on Windows, I can confirm it runs great, which is fantastic because I have not tested it on Windows, and it's just Zig for the win in that it just works. So that's great news. I guess it's not just Zig and Raylib and DVUI. Raylib is a C library as well, so probably has a whole bunch of cross-platform support in there. So, but that's great news. I was really chuffed to hear that one. So, show score. Let's create a HUD class. So, HUD.zig. I mean, I'm just realizing if we do a HUD, or maybe because I did wonder earlier about where we would put the code to draw that line down the middle, and I mean, technically that's not the HUD, so maybe we should call it the what do you call table? Is this ping pong? Yeah, I guess it's closest to ping pong, so maybe it should be table. At import std, and then let's I guess we just have show score here. Where is that right now? That's just in here. And what I was thinking actually is, there were a couple of things I thought about. So one is we want a playing area defined on the paddle, and two is we can move the we can just, instead of passing in the score and the XPOS, we can just pass in the paddle. So let's make that change to the paddle first. So pub fn play area self star const paddle, and we can return a DVUI.rect, and that will return the left. Wait, do we not have DVUI in here? Const DVUI equals so the rect has X, Y, width and height, which is great, which is what we want. And what we'll do here, do we also have screen height is only, we pass in the screen height, but what about the width? Interesting. We'll need the width to be able to define what the playing area is, but we can actually simplify it. We don't have to calculate it each time. So let's just call play area dvui.rect. And what that means is we've got screen height already, but we also need do we need screen width? We do, comma, screen width. In a lot of ways we don't care about the height. We care about the width more than the height as far as the playing area is concerned. Well, for the purposes of displaying the score. So what we need to do, what we can do here is we need const play area dvui.rect equals switch which dot left, and then we just want it to be dot x equals 0, y equals 0, and then wait, I forget that I need a dot there. Dot w equals screen width times 0.2 and dot h equals screen height, and dot right is not super different. Actually, let me just copy and paste. Right equals, so x now becomes screen width times 0.2. I mean, technically I probably need a +1 here, otherwise the exact pixel at 0.2 is shared across both of them. It doesn't matter for us right now, so I'm not going to optimize that, because there is a reason I was thinking there, because x is float. So what is plus, what is the next unit when in float, because it could be 0.1. Anyway, that's not we don't need to worry about that. And the width is correct as well. So the only thing that's different is where it starts. The width and the height are the exact same for all of them, and y is also exactly the same. So we can then, let me just add that in here, dot play area dot play underscore area equals play area. I wonder if I even need that method, because we can just pick it up from there directly. No need to write a getter in Zig. So, okay, good. So that was straightforward. And what we do here, Actually, before we move it there, let's just test if we can change it here. So let's just take a paddle, and we'll call it, we just want it to be, because we don't want it to be copied. I mean, it can be, but we don't need it to be. And then what we do is const xpos equals paddle dot play area dot x plus paddle dot play area dot width times 0.2. And then we also want the score, which I don't know why that's not showing an error there. It is now const score equals paddle dot score. Easy. Self dot left paddle, self dot right paddle. Right. Actually, no need for that there, so we can just do paddle dot score. No need for that variable. I think we could probably rewrite the xpos as well, but it's used a couple of times, so I don't want to. I think it's a bit cleaner if we declare it here and use it. Let's see if that works. So we are expecting no change here. If it works, let's see. Expected type found paddle. Oh, that's okay. It's just a paddle. It doesn't matter if we copy it. Doesn't have anything. Does it have anything? Let me just see. Position, which, nothing super interesting in there, so it doesn't matter if it's copied in there. We could pass it in as a pointer, a const pointer, if we just took its address, but let's not do that, just for fiddling around. And one other thing that we need to do is because, where was it? It's probably in game actually. Here, yep, left paddle, it's now expecting a screen width as well. Width first, right? Right paddle, screen width. I know I need to, and I'll just go and update the init method as well so that we take the width first, which I think is just the convention is width first. Oops. X and Y. And what we're expecting here is basically no change. Ooh, there is change. That's not good. Let's fix that. So it looks like, oh, actually what we could do is what went wrong? So what did we do here? X is 0. Is screen width wrong? So wait. So this is paddle. Oh, they're both the same. Okay, sorry, I've got a bit confused there. So it's being called from game, and game gets the screen width and screen height, so that should be correct. Left equals. So one thing that we can do here is we can display it as a box. So let's do p box equals to DVUI. Well, that was a very loud siren. DVUI dot box at src, comma. We don't care about this because we're not actually going to be displaying anything in there. But what we do want is border equals DVUI dot rect dot all one, and that's all we need. And then we do defer pbox dot d init. I have to also remember to make it a var. I did a bit of Go recently, and some of the syntax muddles me up when I'm switching languages. Return current window. All right. The reason it's complaining is because we're calling init before the DVUI stuff is set up, and we actually want to display this in every frame. So do we have a render here? Let's just pop it in there. That'll do it. Wait, we haven't defined its width or height. So what we want to do is comma dot rect equals self dot play area. That'll do. Yeah, because init happens in the init of game over here, and the init of game happens in main before the loop starts and before any of the DVUI or even the Raylib rendering stuff has been set up. That's why we are getting this error, return current window or else. I've seen that one before. So that's how I recognize it, because I've made the same mistake before more than once. Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? Because it's got the window there at the wrong size. I mean, is that the middle? That's not even the middle of the window. What? Oh, that's why. My bad. I apologize. In my head, I was thinking about dividing by 2, and then I converted that to a multiplication, and then I left the number intact. Silly Shri. I just had to read the code and I would have seen it. There we go. It is a bit strange that the y-axis is off, isn't it? find that really odd. But I thought we fixed that. I thought we were using... We are using the get screen height. Really strange. I think there's a bug in there somewhere, which I will take a look at later. For now, let me just commit this. What would I call this? I mean, this is also a refactor, isn't it? Git commit -a, because we haven't actually changed any. Oh, wait. I don't want this box displayed. Where am I? Not in there. Let me just go into render. So yeah, we don't want those little red boxes displayed. I will add it to my list. Ooh. Wait. What happened there? That shouldn't have changed the location of the boxes. It should only have stopped displaying them. Actually, wait, that is interesting. I didn't notice that the boxes are now correct, but the location of these are not. Of the numbers. So where is that one? That is in game. So play area.x plus play area.w. Oh, right, I made the same mistake there. That's why. My bad. So let's see. Okay, that's better. Okay, now let's run paddle render D2D, and we should be able to see that now centrally aligned on both sides without the red boxes. Perfect. Okay, good. Refactor show score based on paddle play area, and then what we'll do is let's use the table and I think all the table actually needs is just that method, which is in game. And we need paddle, const paddle equals set. Okay, and we need DVUI. Oops. And then what we do is we need to bring table in here. It feels like table needs to go first because import. Now in my head I'm wondering, should the ball and the paddle go in there, but then it's just the game. Interesting. Yeah. Because then maybe it should be in game. Or maybe I should just rename game to table. Interesting. Yeah. Or maybe it should be hard. Weird. Okay, there are a few ways to cut this, which means I'm actually just going to undo this. I'm just going to leave that in here because there is no need for that. That just adds an unnecessary complication or layer Yeah, so I'm just going to leave it like this. And the other option is to have player, which is what milogreg suggests. Could be part of paddle. It's kind of unintuitive. I agree. I think that if you want a super correct structure hierarchy, you should either move the scores into the game struct and keep show score in game, which makes sense, or make a new player struct. Kind of reluctant to create a player struct just for keeping the score. So either way, moving the score out of paddle seems like the right call. In that case, okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe it should come into game then. Which actually is not that complicated because the logic for scoring goes in here anyway. But I just did this. That's fine. That's fine. Let's do that. In fact, let's take the score out of there. Score. And then here we've got left paddle, right paddle, and we can do left score U8 and right score U8, and we will have here comma left score self dot right score. Okay, so and we will take the score into here, comma score U8, and we'll get rid of this. And the final thing, hopefully, that we need to fix is here it becomes left score, and here it becomes right score, and we don't need that debug anymore, or that one. Let's see how, I mean, we're not making any changes, or we're only refactoring stuff. So that one is game.zig21, game.zig21, left paddle, oh sorry, missed the left paddle there, left score equals 0 dot right score equals 0. Let's see, all of these changes to have no difference in what actually happens from a user's perspective, but it does tidy up the code. Let me just move this up a bit. Oops. Yep, so that works as well. So still working. Yep, okay. Good. Refactor, improve, what do we call this? Improve, we'll just call it move score to game. There we go. That is it. Okay, so next time around what we'll do is we'll build the pause menu. I just did that on Triangle. I've got a whole bunch of videos on how I did that. Took a bit longer than I expected, but everything does. And that, yeah, that is what we'll do next time. We'll just do the pause menu. Is there anything else here? No. I think that's about it. Let me know if you've got any thoughts or any other suggestions for how some of this code can be structured or changed. And I will see you next time when we pause Pong and show a menu. Thank you. See you later.